Hey everyone. Even though Apple's stock price performed relatively well in 2023, the business itself, not so much. The company's revenue decreased year over year, and earnings per share were relatively flat for its fiscal year 2023. So, where could Apple's stock price end up in 2024? That's the question I'm going to look at in this video here. I'm going to answer where I think Apple's stock price will be in 2024.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So to answer the question of where I think Apple's stock price will be, I'm going to need a few numbers. The first of which is Apple's current stock price, which is $186.85 as of this recording on February 1st. Of course, Apple is set to report earnings after the market closes today, so that could influence Apple's stock price meaningfully when those numbers come out. For now, we're looking at it as if it's trading at $186 per share. Additionally, I need Apple's fiscal year 2024 earnings per share estimate, and that's this figure here for its fiscal year 2024, which ends on September 2024. Analysts on Wall Street think that Apple will deliver earnings per share of $6.58. This is the estimate from a consensus of analysts that follow Apple's stock on Wall Street. Now, some analysts might think Apple's earnings per share will be higher. Some might think Apple's earnings per share will be lower. But overall, this is the average, the consensus among the Wall Street analysts. It wouldn't surprise me if after Apple's earnings comes out after the market closes, if this earnings per share estimate is adjusted upward or downward in the coming days and weeks. This estimate doesn't get adjusted immediately after earnings come out. It takes Wall Street some time to digest the numbers, to digest what management says, and update their financial models and then change their forecasts for the year. So don't expect this to be changed anytime soon after the earnings come out. It'll take a few days at the very least, maybe even a week or two before these estimates get updated. But when they do, I will update you as to where they moved upward or downward. If there was a significant change, I'll make updates and adjustments to this prediction. I also need Apple's price to earnings ratio, which as of this recording, Apple is trading at a price to earnings of 30.52. Interestingly, in the last three and a half years, Apple's valuation has adjusted upward. You can see the two different ranges in its valuation. So from 2020 onward, Apple's valuation has been about price to earnings of 24 and above, between 24 and 38, let's say, with brief moments dipping below that. But for the most part, above 24, right? But you can see before 2020, Apple's valuation traded at, below 20, between 12 and 20, let's say, for the better part between 2015 and 2020. So where is Apple's valuation going to be going forward? That's going to be an interesting question, and that's what I'm going to look at when I'm making my stock price prediction here. Is the valuation going to stay above 24, or is it going to go back and revert below these valuation levels? That's an interesting thing to look at here. The earnings per share estimate for 2024 of $6.58. Remember, I got that from the Wall Street consensus. If Apple does indeed deliver this earnings per share for 2024 and the price to earnings ratio remains unchanged at 30.5, Apple's stock price could reach $200 per share in 2024. Now, that wouldn't be much of an increase, less than 10% from the current trading price of $186 per share. But what if Apple's valuation increases to a PE of 33? Well, in that case, its valuation could increase to $217 per share. If the valuation drops to a PE of 28, then the estimated stock price could stay relatively flat to $184 per share. And if the valuation reverts back towards where it was before 2020 to a PE of 2022, the stock price could fall all the way down to $144 per share. So overall, in looking at these 4 different scenarios, it appears that there's more downside risk to Apple stock than there is upside potential for Apple stock. Now, if I was to estimate where I think Apple stock price will be by the end of 2024, I would say the stock price will be somewhere around this estimate here of $200 per share. And if I was to give a range, I would expand the range to between $193 per share and $203 per share. That's the range that I think is most probable for Apple stock in 2024. Now, if Apple could deliver some enhancements, some improvement in its AI capabilities, there's room for it to do this, right? If you think about its Siri personal assistant on Apple devices, it's, not remarkable. It could be enhanced using AI. It could be more capable, more functional. And if it does do that, if it does provide an update to its AI capabilities, that could be a huge boost upward for its earnings per share multiple. Additionally, it's launching the new Vision Pro headset, expensive price tag. If that product proves to be popular and sells out, and Apple increases production and finds a way to lower the price point in that category and then expand production, reaching a larger addressable market for that could boost the stock price. But most importantly, if Apple can demonstrate a reacceleration of growth in its iPhone sales, that will be the big catalyst that could boost Apple forward. Remember, in its fiscal year 2023, revenue actually decreased year over year. Revenue fell. And so if it can reaccelerate that growth, if it can find new areas to sell that iPhone, if it can find new customers to upgrade those iPhones, that will be a big boost, because that's the core of Apple's ecosystem. If you buy an iPhone, you're more likely to buy Apple AirPods. You're more likely to subscribe to Apple Music. You're more likely to buy services from the App Store. You're more likely to buy an Apple Watch. So that's the core. If Apple can get you into an iPhone, then everything else opens up for Apple in the more profitable services segment, and you become a longer term customer for Apple, where it can generate profit for several years, if not a decade or more from that new iPhone customer. So that's what I'll be looking out for from Apple in the earnings report that comes out, which of course I will be reviewing, and I will have a video for you on that as well. Did you know that over 90% of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed? It'll really help support my channel if you hit that subscribe button. And oh, by the way, one of the benefits of being subscribed is that I take requests from subscribers more often than I do from non-subscribers. So if you prefer that benefit, please subscribe to the channel.